Peppercorn sauce. Made by reducing cream with stock and crushed black peppercorns, it became popular in French bistro cooking, especially with steak au poivre. The cream adds fat, which smooths out firmer cuts like strip steak or lamb loin, and makes them feel more tender. The cracked pepper doesn't just add heat, it sharpens the natural savory flavor already in the meat. Because it's rich but not sweet, it works best on red meat with structure. It enhances what is there instead of covering it. Mushroom sauce. Common across French and European cooking, it is often served with roasted meats. Built from mushrooms, stock, and cream, this sauce leans heavily into savory depth. Mushrooms naturally reinforce the flavor of meat, which is why it works so well on chicken breast, pork tenderloin, or rump steak. The cream softens the lean texture without making it heavy. It feels earthy and rounded, especially on cuts that develop a strong sear. Barbecue sauce. Closely tied to American barbecue traditions, especially in the South, most versions are built from tomato, sugar, and vinegar. On slow-cooked meats like pork shoulder, brisket, ribs, or pulled chicken, it clings to the bark and caramelizes as it heats. The sugar thickens and caramelizes on the surface of the sauce itself, helping it set into a glossy coating, while the vinegar keeps everything balanced. These meats already carry smoke and rendered fat, and the sauce locks onto that textured exterior. It becomes part of the crust rather than just sitting on top. In places like Kansas City, the sauce is thicker and sweeter, while in parts of the Carolinas it leans more heavily on vinegar, showing how the balance shifts depending on the meat. Chimichurri. Originating in Argentina and Uruguay, it is traditionally served with grilled beef. It is a raw mix of parsley, garlic, vinegar, and olive oil. On fatty grilled meats like ribeye or lamb chops, it cuts through richness and resets the bite. Because it is not cooked, the herbs stay fresh and sharp. The oil spreads flavor evenly without adding heaviness. It is usually spooned over the meat after grilling rather than during cooking, which keeps the herbs bright and vibrant. Béarnaise is a classic French steakhouse sauce. It is made from egg yolks, butter, a vinegar reduction, and tarragon. The butter adds fullness, which makes lean cuts like filet mignon or pork tenderloin feel more tender. The slight acidity keeps it from becoming overwhelming. It adds richness without hiding the flavor of the meat itself. It is typically spooned over just before serving, so the emulsion stays smooth and does not separate under high heat. Garlic butter. Made by melting butter and infusing it with fresh or lightly cooked garlic, it's built around richness and aroma. The butter mirrors the natural fat already present in meats like sirloin, pork chops, shrimp, or turkey, which is why it blends so easily into the surface. As it hits hot meat, it melts into the crust and carries the garlic flavor evenly across each bite. The garlic softens as it warms, losing its sharp edge and turning round and savory. Blue cheese sauce. Popular in American steakhouse culture, especially paired with burgers and grilled beef, it is made from cream and melted blue cheese. The fat and salt make lean meats like flank steak, venison, bison, or burgers feel richer and more satisfying. Blue cheese adds depth without sweetness. Because these meats have a strong flavor, they can handle that intensity. Buffalo sauce was created in Buffalo, New York in the 1960s for chicken wings. It combines cayenne-based hot sauce with melted butter. The hot sauce is typically vinegar-forward and made from aged red peppers, which gives it both heat and sharpness. Butter is whisked in off the heat, forming a loose emulsion that softens the spice and helps it cling to the meat. On wings, the butter spreads the heat evenly across crispy skin, while the vinegar cuts through rendered fat. It does not make the meat richer. It makes it sharper and more balanced. Contrast is what keeps wings from feeling greasy after a few bites. Honey mustard blends sharp mustard with sweet honey, and it adds contrast to mild meats. On chicken tenders, grilled chicken breast, pork loin, or ham, the mustard keeps the flavor lively, while the honey smooths it out. It complements without overpowering. The balance between sweet and sharp keeps each bite interesting. Depending on thickness, it can work as a glaze during cooking or as a dipping sauce served on the side. Hollandaise. One of the classic French butter emulsions, it's made from egg yolks, butter, and lemon juice. Often associated with eggs Benedict, it also pairs well with delicate meats like turkey breast, poached chicken, or veal. The butter adds richness to lean muscle fibers. The lemon prevents it from feeling heavy. Red wine reduction is common in French and Italian cooking. It is created by simmering wine with stock until concentrated. On fatty meats like ribeye, lamb leg, or beef roast, it brings acidity that balances richness. It does not add cream or sweetness. Instead, it sharpens the overall flavor and keeps the bite from feeling too heavy. It is often made in the same pan used to cook the meat, incorporating the browned bits left behind to deepen flavor. Salsa verde. Found in both Italian and Mexican traditions, the herb-based version served with grilled meats is especially common in Mediterranean cooking. Made with herbs, olive oil, and often capers or anchovy, it brightens grilled pork, lamb, or beef. The herbs enhance smoke and char rather than covering it. It stays light on the surface. Cranberry sauce. Most closely tied to North American holiday meals, especially Thanksgiving turkey, it is made from cooked cranberries and sugar. It delivers both sweetness and tartness. With roast turkey, it offsets lean white meat and crispy skin at the same time. The acidity does not physically add moisture, but it stimulates salivation, which makes each bite feel less dry. The sweetness rounds out the sharper edges of roasted flavors, while the tartness keeps the palate refreshed. Bourbon sauce. Rooted in American Southern cooking, especially barbecue regions, it is made by reducing bourbon with brown sugar, butter, and stock. As it cooks, the alcohol fades and leaves behind caramel and vanilla notes. That makes it a natural match for smoked meats like ribs, brisket, pork belly, or grilled turkey. It enhances char instead of fighting it. Classic steak sauce. Built around vinegar, tomato, raisin paste, and a blend of spices, it is designed to add sweet acidity rather than richness. The vinegar brings brightness, while the tomato and raisin concentrate into a thick, slightly sticky base. Warm spices give it depth without heat. On leaner steaks, burgers, or meatloaf, it enhances savory flavor without adding fat. Instead of coating the meat heavily, it adds contrast and complexity. It is usually served at room temperature, which keeps the acidity sharp and pronounced. Gravy. A staple of traditional roasting kitchens, it's made from meat drippings, thickened with stock and flour. When large cuts like turkey, chicken, beef roast, or pork loin cook, they lose moisture as they rest. Gravy doesn't rehydrate the meat itself, but it adds surface moisture and lubrication with every bite. Because it's built from the same drippings, it reinforces the meat's original flavor. It's usually prepared while the meat rests, using the juices collected from the roasting pan. Teriyaki. Originating in Japan, the term refers to a cooking method where food is grilled or broiled with a glossy glaze. The sauce used for that glaze is typically made from soy sauce, sugar, and mirin, sometimes with sake added. On chicken thighs, pork belly, beef skirt steak, or salmon, it forms a shiny coating as it cooks. The sugar caramelizes while the soy adds salt and depth, creating the characteristic balance of sweet and savory. Satay, or peanut sauce, comes from Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia and Thailand. It is served with skewered, grilled meats. Ground peanuts blended with coconut milk and spices create a thick, rich coating. On grilled chicken, pork, or beef skewers, it clings evenly to charred surfaces. The fat smooths out smokiness, while subtle sweetness enhances browning. It is traditionally served alongside skewered meat, rather than poured over large roasted cuts. Bordelaise. Originating in the Bordeaux region of France, It was developed to highlight the area's bold red wines alongside roasted beef. It builds on a classic red wine reduction, but is enriched with stock and often finished with bone marrow. As the sauce reduces, the marrow melts into it, adding both fat and natural gelatin. That extra richness increases surface lubrication, which makes firmer cuts like sirloin or roast beef feel more tender without changing their structure. It's deeper and heavier than a simple wine reduction, designed specifically for strong beef-forward cuts.